Thank you very much, Professor Ng. So, if Guilherme is the pre-PhD, then hair-wise, I am the post-PhD. So I hope I don't scare off our prospective PhD candidates.
I have more hair.
There you go.
Okay.
So I guess part genetics for me. So I hope that my follicularly challenge will not scare you off, because I can tell you that every follicle that was lost in the course of my PhD was worth it. And I'll spend the next 10 minutes or so to share with you about my journey. All right, I'll screen share. Okay, so I hope you can see my slide. So the title of my talk today is PhD Beyond Professional. And there are 4 things that I would like to share with you. And hopefully at the end of the conclusion, you'll be able to see why the title. So for me, it all started off with a hope. And that hope was really, it started off when I was actually 9 years old. And you can see that at 9, I was already convinced that I wanted to be a scientist. And I thought I knew what I needed to do to get there. And so for the next 2 years, I began to plug myself into all kinds of scientific research, wild and crazy ones, ridiculous ones. And I believe this piece of work, if I'm not wrong, I mean, perhaps my botany friends can correct me. I actually think there was a paper on this by some other group. I think, if I'm not wrong, it's about 2 or 3 decades later. We never knew the mechanism, but we thought it was interesting. And I earned the nickname of being a mad scientist in my primary school. So at 29, I did what I started off with, which was to finish my PhD. And I'm really appreciative and thankful to the NUS Graduate School for Integrative Sciences and Engineering for making that dream possible. And with that very nice PhD and support from NUS and also the Ludwig Cancer Research, and also later on the Swedish Childhood Cancer Foundation, I was on my way to the Ludwig Cancer Research to pursue my postdoctoral fellowship at the Ludwig Cancer Research in Karolinska Institute. And to be really honest with you, it's quite surreal to be, working on your research project and looking down at the Nobel Forum below, which is the exact place where every year, hundreds of people descend on the Nobel Forum to listen to the announcement of the Nobel Prize. And also not to mention that the director also happens to be our director also happens to be the Secretary General of the Nobel Assembly. So the whole thing was quite a surreal experience. And for the next 3 years, practically my family never saw me on Saturdays and Sundays and evenings. I was burying my head, following up on a project on the follow-up work on oxygen sensing from Bill Kaelin, who later on went on to win the Nobel Prize in 2019. But then when I finished my postdoctoral fellowship and as age catches up with you, you begin to be a little bit introspective and reflective. And then I began to ask myself the question, okay, now I've earned a little bit of knowledge. I'm a little bit deep in expertise. I'm pretty good on this one gene that very badly affects a very small proportion of patients of a particular disease. And the disease basically has less than 10 patients in Singapore in a year. Right. So what else? Could I be doing? Obviously, I'm very proud of what I'm doing and very pleased with what I'm doing. But I was really asking the question that, what other interests do I have? And is it wrong if I have many interests beyond that one dream that I had when I was 9 years old? So I began to move back, and remember that when I was 3, I wanted to be a fighter pilot. And myopia basically put paid to all those chances. And I said, okay, let's throw that out the window. At 15, I was on track to do a PPE to Oxford. And along the way, hormones kicked in and endocrinology kicked in. And somehow the dream didn't materialize. And then later on at 17 or 18 or even 19 until now, I decided that, maybe I wanted to be a theater practitioner. And on the picture on the right, you could believe it or not, that's actually me. All right. And obviously the hair is not real. Okay. But I wish I still had that on me. So I asked myself now, with this PhD and how far I've come and how deep I've come, how do I integrate this with my many interests? And that was really the time where I realized that the PhD really, what I earned from it was really beyond that degree was really beyond that knowledge about that one gene in that one disease that affects less than 10 patients a year. What it really did was to taught me two things. One, to be resilient. Having a PhD, you're one of the most thick-skinned people around. There's a certain saying in Chinese that you literally cannot be beaten to death, because if you can sit on a problem and think about it for 4 years and more, there's nothing that's going to stop you from solving that challenge or problem. The second thing that I got from my PhD that I learned was to able to kind of think metacognitively and how to connect dots laterally, and to really have the deep thinking and reasoning skills that I thought could be applied to anything. And so for that, I'm really thankful that I have been able to use those skills and those attributes that I got from my PhD. And I've been very thankful to the medical school for being very kind, for allowing me to kind of contribute in a modest way, to be able to use those skills and resilience to add value and to sort of meaningfully transform and to make changes in other aspects beyond the field that I was trained and beyond the knowledge that I have acquired. And to me, that is really the essence of a PhD training. And I'm still not done in terms of the PhD skills, the thinking skills, and the resilience that I have acquired. Because in fact, I'm very interested to use my thinking skills to see how I can, apply it to the different people, situation, and contexts around the world, learn from them, and use those metacognitive and lateral skills to integrate with my own knowledge and skills, and to see how we can make the world a better place. And another dream that I have yet to fulfill, maybe in the third or fourth season of my life, is to see how I can use my PhD, right, to become this club DJ and to really produce electronic dance music that I've always wanted to do so. So perhaps one day the dream is to lecture in the day, and then start spinning music in the night, and maybe undergrads will be seeing who's the guy who is follicularly challenged, what's he doing there. The second thing I want to say is that PhD is really a journey. I understand that stipend is limited, and there's a limit, and the timing, there's a limit. But really, take time. Don't rush through the whole thing. Take time to slow down. Take time to pause. Take time to make detours. Sometimes you go fast. Sometimes you go slow. Sometimes you reflect, and sometimes there are moments to take stock. And what I want to really say is that, there are a lot of downtimes, all right, in your PhD journey, but make full use of those times when you feel like you're going downhill, gain the momentum, make use of the momentum so that, you can use the momentum to go up again. But having said that, even as you're going up, I would strongly encourage you to pace yourself well. Now, I'm no physicist, but I hope that the physicists will please correct me if I'm wrong in this, right? As you're going up, please, watch the speed and the velocity and the acceleration at which you are going up. Because if you go up too fast, right, chances are, right, sometimes, you lose the balance and we lose that stability and we fall off the peak, and then we start going down again. So knowing what to make of when we are in our hardest times, using the momentum to go up and the speed at which we are going up, and how to stay at the top and giving value, I think that's really important. And so, of course, a PhD naturally comes with its challenges, and most of the time, challenges with people. You could have a supervisor, that is very difficult. You could have postdocs that lock up fridges, from one another, have CCTV cameras against one another. Time is another challenge. There are time staff people and there are PhD people. All right. So PhD time starvation reaches a new level of understanding. But to me, at the end of the day, it is really about what's our foundations. The greatest problem sometimes is ourselves. That means what sort of foundations we are resting on, what sort of values we are resting on, and really, have we prepared ourselves, to overcome these challenges? And sometimes are we the challenge itself? So for me, for prospective PhD candidates, I would say that, for me, all right, one of the most important things for overcoming challenges during a PhD journey is really to maintain a stable social and personal life. So after the end of the first year of my PhD journey, all right, I found the love of my life, and I got married. And then after I published my first paper, I decided to publish my first clone. And now I'm happy to say that I have 2 clones, and these clones are, so far they have survived and they're viable, and they have lived for about, one is 12 years and the other is 9-year-old. And I can tell you that these 2 are the absolute pillar of strength and bedrock in my life, and they are the reason why I think it's possible for me to keep on going in a PhD journey and even beyond. The third thing I want to share with you is do not walk alone. All right. Now, look, I know the Liverpool fans are very happy, but I'm sorry to say that, I'm not a Liverpool fan. In fact, quite the opposite. But there's one thing in the Liverpool motto that I really agree, even though I'm not a fan. And so that is to never walk alone. And so if you look at the pictures here, these are pictures from my PhD days. And I would really say that, find a supervisor who really nurtures you. For me, my supervisor, Professor Shazid Pervez, all right, I mean, I felt he has never treated me like a paper manuscript writing or grant writing machine, right? And he's really took an interest in my life. He really invested in me, and he really took interest in me as a person, and he did life with me. So in the bottom right, you can see us, running a race in the middle of a conference and finish a presentation, and we ran a 15-kilometer race. On the top, he was at my wedding. And then at the bottom, we are at another senior graduate student's wedding. And then, then we have a huge, fantastic bunch of, fellow graduate students and research fellows. We do life together, mountain biking, traveling, and so on and so forth. I can't even explain the picture on the bottom in the middle. So please feel free to insert caption. Now, no PhD alumni story is complete without saying that one of the greatest attraction of going on a PhD journey is the ability to travel and see places around the world during your PhD and even beyond. I think it has, taken me to nice places on the top left in Laos, Uzbekistan, Palestine, Israel, Myanmar, and so on and so forth. Yeah, and Pakistan as Luxembourg, South Africa, and so on. But what I really want to share with you at the end of the day is that a PhD is much more than being able to travel. It is much more than being able to win awards or to write papers or to be able to win grants. I think find that purpose that will really anchor you for a long time, and you'll find your PhD worthwhile. For me, that purpose is really about, preparing people for the world using your PhD and preparing the world for the people, and that you're constantly finding new ways to achieve these two. And the real qualities that you have is, not so much a GPA, but I think it's our humanistic qualities, the ability to value one another and to add value to one another. And finally, I will say that, why a PhD is really beyond a professional degree. And you know what's beyond a professional? That is the day you become a change agent, the ability to transform people and the world, and the ability to connect dots from seemingly impossible situations. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Xiong. I think you paint a very nice picture of PhD, but let me remind the students there are also a lot of hard work, sweat, and tears behind that he's not showing. But at the end of the day, it's all worth losing a bit of hair. So do you have some question? We have 1 minute or so. Maybe don't have, so do we? Okay, let me see Q&A. All right. If not, maybe I'll just ask Xiong one question and then we'll wrap up for the next session. Okay. So other than losing your hair, what's the most difficult part that people should know about doing a PhD?
I think the most difficult part was rejections and disappointments. As I'm not sure some of those who have read my writing, I say that if there was somebody to prepare me for those failures and disappointments, I think that would be useful. I remember when I submitted my first manuscript, my wife was on the Nature Publishing Group manuscript portal far more than I was. And you know that it's British time, right? And it's the UK time. And so she will wake up one day, 4 a.m. and tell me, I could tell how good or how well it's going. Like 4 a.m. she'll tell me like, oh, your manuscript is accepted. And like, why are you the first one to know it before I do? And then there are times when I wake up at 6 a.m. and she will, she can't really speak. And then I know something has gone wrong. And she'll be like, she prepares my heart and she tells me like, okay, this is reasonable, unreasonable. Yeah. And I said, and to me, I think it's really important to have people to journey with you, to go through those disappointments and rejections. And it's helpful to have friends, colleagues, a very understanding supervisor, as well as family and friends to journey with you. So I find that's something that we have to prepare our hearts and minds.
Great. Yeah. As you said, your title is a PhD beyond professional. So a lot of things that you learn in your PhD are useful beyond the professional life. So for example, the ability to take rejections probably help you gain the heart of your loved one, right? That you persevere and manage to win the heart of your wife, right? So okay, so congratulations. And anyway, with that, thank you, Xiong. And I think there was a question, but I don't think we will have time. Let me see. Okay, there are some questions. But I think we let maybe you, Xiong, you can answer offline by typing.
Sure, I'll be happy to do
Okay,
that.
all
Okay.
right. So, okay, in view of time, we'll move on to the next speaker, the last